compared to your progress. Momentum is ignored in this rule. Okay, so as we saw, um, our progress is 10 out of 10. So one of our challenge dice was a 10. Oh, this is perfect. So this is actually really good. So our challenge dice was a 10 and a 5, and our progress was a 10. So even though we did everything we could, we really did everything we could. We got 10 out of 10 progress. It's only a weak hit, because then Pendry says, well, this is just a regular giant spider fang. That's unremarkable. There's thousands of regular giant spiders in the woods. You didn't really back up the fact that it's a flying spider, which is why the people at the bar were laughing at this guy. So on a miss, no, not a miss, on a weak hit, here we go. On a weak hit, there is more to be done, or you realize the truth of your quest and envision what you discover. Then, mark your experience. Alright, so we still completed it. Maybe we just don't get our full... We just don't get our bonus, right? So it says, you might have to swear a new iron vow to set things straight. You know, but we explained, Pendry, I didn't really see any way that I could bring back proof that the spider was flying. I mean, it had massive wings in order to lift this thing up. We couldn't just bring one back, let alone cut it off with a hammer. We don't have any other iron. It's too scarce in this world. So I was able to knock out one of its teeth, and this was the best I could do. So rather than giving us the bonus, we're going to go ahead and complete our vow as regular. So you may swear an iron vow to set things straight. If you do, add +1, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this was a dangerous quest, I think, as we said. Oh, okay. So we get -1 experience, right? So normally we would have gotten 2 for a strong hit, but we only get 1. There's definitely a way to figure out how much wealth we just got. Maybe we could try to compel this guy, right? So like we definitely only got 1 experience, but we can still ask for that bonus. You know? Alright, so I'm going to say, Pendry, I'll stay the day in Whitewood. And tonight, we'll go back to the tavern, and I will explain, first person, to your mates how I killed the spider. And maybe they'll believe me, right? So we're going to try to compel here. We're going to use our heart. And no modifier. Weak hit. So they'll do what you want, share what they know, take a momentum. If you do this, if you use this exchange to gather information, make a move. Okay, on a weak hit as above, but they ask something in return, envision what they want, and ask the oracle if unsure. Okay, so I say, listen, Pendry, I will tell the tale of how I killed this flying spider firsthand to your barmates. That evening, we're sitting at the bar, I'm telling them the story. They don't believe me, right? This is them asking for something in return. They're like, prove it, right? I'm like, well, I can't. But, you know, I got pretty beat up while doing it. And, you know, they can clearly see that about me. And maybe that's enough for Pendry because we did score a hit. And it's not enough for the bar people. So we only get 1 experience. But we get our bonus. So I'm going to go ahead and give ourselves 1 wealth. You can even mark +1. So there are times when we'll want to like buy things and or even like compel people with like a bribe. So I think that we could use that wealth as like a +1. So rather than keeping track of money, it's kind of like levels of wealth. So right now we have like troublesome wealth, you know what I mean? Like we'll have 5 levels of wealth, and when I get to 5, I've maxed out, right? I could probably buy something pretty impressive, like a horse with 5 wealth. But right now we have like a bag of coin. Although I did say that we got a bonus, so maybe I'll give us 2 wealth. Because, look, all of that, we just played for what? An hour and a half, and we got 1 experience. Which sounds like it sucks, but once we hit 30, our character retires. Like we've beat the game. So I'm okay with that. This was our first quest. We got 1 experience, but we got 2 wealth. And we're going to go ahead and take in for the night, and we're going to go to the tavern. And we'll go to the tavern in Whitewood, and I'll pull out my journal, and Vidarna is going to write down today's expedition and take careful note of the appearance of the guy that ran away in the woods in case we ever meet him again. And let's try to resupply. Where would that be? Did I pass it? Oh, resupply. Here it is. Okay. So when we hunt, forage, or scavenge, we're going to roll for our wits. Wits is also going to be like our ability to navigate shops and stuff. So let's go ahead and resupply with our wits. Now, like, we could resupply with our edge or shadow if we were like a criminal. We could try to sneak things. They say that this goes for a specific asset, but whatever it might be. So let's go ahead and resupply. Our resupply score was a 3. Our challenge dice was an 8 and a 3. And our momentum was a 6. Why did it mark down our momentum? I'm not sure. So, on a miss, you find nothing helpful, and we pay the price. Oh, it's telling me, hey, by the way, your momentum is 6, and we can cancel this. That's really good. So, now that the fight's over, it would make sense that we would spend our momentum to cancel out this 3 and find at least something in the entire settlement of Whitewood. But, like our map says, Whitewood depends greatly on its exports, on things coming into it, and thing is, we probably don't find much here in terms of supply. Like, it's probably all staples for the citizens. They don't have like shops to sell to strangers and outsiders and passerbys because their infrastructure is just not built for it. They're an export society. So maybe that's why we had some trouble here. So we're going to go ahead and burn our momentum. Goes back to +2. We cancel out this 3, meaning that... Oh, no, wait, I'm still an idiot. We would cancel out... Oh, yeah, we cancel out the 3 because we matched it. So we didn't beat it, right? We cancel out the 3, not the 8. So we beat 1 and not the other, so it's now a weak hit. Ah, that makes perfect sense. Okay. So on a weak hit, we'll take up to 2 supply, but we'll suffer -1 momentum for each. Oh, this is super interesting now. So now we're taking momentum. So on a weak hit, take up to 2 supply, but suffer -1 momentum for each. So we could take 2 supply right now, but we would be at -2 momentum. Now, if we are below base momentum, the only way to get higher momentum is if we just get momentum, right? This could be through another move that might be make a camp, where we get momentum. This could be something like Sojourn, where I spend time in a community seeking assistance, right? Maybe that's what I'll do next. So first I resupplied, now I'm going to Sojourn. Alright, so I'll go ahead and take the -2, and we're going to go back up to 3 supply. Now we're going to Sojourn. So we're going to spend time in Whitewood seeking assistance. So we're going to roll for our heart. We don't share a bond here, so we're not going to add the 1. Okay. So let's roll Sojourn for our heart. We got a miss, of course. On a miss, you find no help here, and we pay the price. Damn. Alright. So let's go ahead, pay price. When you suffer the outcome of a move, choose one. Alright, this I feel like anything could happen right now, so let's go ahead and roll for it. A new danger or foe is revealed. Alright, so in the midst of us seeking help in Whitewood, we're like walking through the market, and through the crowd, we see the guy that nearly killed us in the woods duck through the crowd and take off down the street. Like, he probably saw us and is now running from us. So we could chase him. So I would say that means that a new foe is revealed, right? You know, it's an old foe, but it's new in the circumstance. So maybe rather to pay a price specifically, this guy approaches us. That's it. Like, I think that's more interesting. Maybe then rather than him running away, which doesn't really, it's not really, I'm not paying a price there. This guy approaches us, and let's see if we can come up with something he says or does. So we could do a plot twist. We could do new settlement trouble. Maybe because, oh, okay. So maybe this guy had a staff, right? And he's controlling a spider with wings, which is not natural. This dude somehow has like mystic attributes, whether he's like magic bound or some kind of like cultist or priest. We're gonna take some mystic backlash. Alright, so we see him in the market square, right? And he has his staff, and he kind of squints his eyes at us and focuses, like he hones in, looks us in the eyes, and we feel like just this dispersion of loss of magic for a day or so. I can't perform rituals. I do know a ritual because of my owl, which I haven't used yet because there's so much else I'm concerned with right now. Hopefully the next quest, now that we know how the basic rules work, we can start delving into our assets a little bit more. You could definitely tell there at the end of the fight, it was more of me just rolling and rolling and rolling. And I didn't really have to read through all of these. We start to have, like, the ones that we use the most, like strike, clash, pay the price. We kind of know what these say by now. I don't need to roll for them or I don't need to read them every time. So I'll use more of my time in the next fight worrying about my companion, which sucks because right now rituals don't even work, so I can't even use my totem asset for a day or so. Okay. And then maybe now at this point the dude runs away, right? He runs down an alleyway and we lose him, like we're chasing him down and we lose him. So we have no idea who this guy is, what order he's from, how he knows this magic. Because something that I'd like to have noted, and the truths of the Ironlands here, are that mysticism or magic, most folk believe the true magic, if it ever existed, has been lost to us in our new age. And what cannot be explained through science is slandered as witchcraft, or the work of the gods. So I think it's fair to say that this dude is definitely stealthful about his actions towards me just now. You know, like the townsfolk wouldn't have noticed that he just slammed his staff down on the ground and did some magic, if we could call it that. Maybe it's not magic. Maybe it's the work of the gods. But I am without magic for a day. Or without my belief in rituals for a day, we'll put it that way. Since maybe I don't believe in magic. I'm going to go ahead and delete our stat blocks here. And we can clear our vowel. Because it's over. We did that. Unfortunately, I can't remove this bubble for some reason, so that's just going to stay there. So, right, what do we do next? So, I feel like our only two leads right now are either, well, three. We have three choices, I'd say. One of them is the obvious one of investigating this guy. We could also head on the road and try to resupply somewhere else. Our third option might be to just continue on our main quest, on our main vow, and avenge my slaughtered kindred of Thornstead. So this could be me just moving on to the next town and search for a lead. But I think for now I'm interested in this guy. Right? I'm probably upset that he stole my magic. But I'm also curious on why he let me live. So let's see what kind of moves we can make to chase this guy. Right? It might be gather information as we search an area, ask questions, conduct an investigation, or follow a track. We're definitely going to ask questions and search the area. This would be conducting an investigation or following a track. Maybe he doesn't actually have a track, but this could just be follow, you know, like follow a person. I think that's what we're going to be rolling. Let's take a look at all these other ones just to make sure. So right now, the fact that I don't have my ritual, my totem, I'm not super connected with my owl, who this whole time I feel like has just been around, you know. It's not like the owl's perched up on my shoulder or anything. Hullata just keeps track of me, stays within the same, like, general region. And it's once I act upon this totem, it's once I perform this ritual, that Hullata joins the fight and I take these advantages. You can see right now, Hullata has one ability. It's Nocturnal. So if I were to resupply at night, which I didn't do today, I resupplied during the day. By sending my owl to hunt, I could take +2 momentum on a hit. Okay. And when I enter the fray, I add wits against an ambush in darkness. So if someone's attacking me out of surprise in darkness, Hullata would warn me. And, you know, I would get some bonuses from that. It also says, so with my totem, when I hold a totem of my animal, or my beast companion, which for Hullata it's a feather, um, I roll on heart, and on a strong hit, we are bound together. So I will take +1 on my next roll. I'll add +1, and I'll add a momentum. And on a hit, when you use your companion's ability, so then if I did this, right, I used totem, and then I go and use nocturnal afterwards, so that's where I would add the 1. I would add the 1 to the roll for nocturnal, and I would take momentum as long as it hits. If you roll a 1 on that action, though, so if I were to roll a 1 on nocturnal, my magic is spent. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but on a weak hit, my magic is spent, but creating this connection is unsettling. Magic is spent on a weak hit, as above. Okay, and I'll endure 1 stress whenever that's unsettling. Okay, let's see if we can find in the rulebook what exactly it means by magic is spent. I'm not confident that that's going to be anything in here, but it would probably be under forms of harm, so enduring harm. Oh, look at this. So we have different levels of harm, right? I knew that from before whenever it told us that the spider inflicted 2 harm. I never really thought about how that's calculated, right? So here's something we just learned. I know there's an oracle for the levels of harm. Oh, interesting. So we have different levels of harm here. So that's not the same as this, right? So we have a move called endure harm. So, if we miss on endure harm, you must mark a wound, right? Or whatever it is, right? We take minus any health. We could I see. We should probably have taken more than 1 hit. Because it was dangerous harm, we would have probably taken like 3. Right? So I'll even add that now, because that makes more sense to me. I mean, we'd probably move spirit too, but I'm not going to recalculate for everything. Fixing a mistake here. I don't even know if it was a mistake. It's up to us. But we can roll on harm here to see how harmful things are if we don't know. So this might be if we didn't know like what kind of harm the spider was. This would have probably been, we probably could have rolled this whenever we fell out of the tree. So 50% chance that we're battered but still standing. Looks like a 15% chance, or yeah, 15% chance that we are reeling and fighting to stay conscious. If you engage in any vigorous activity such as running or fighting before taking a breather for a few minutes, roll on this table again. Then we've got a 15% chance that we fall unconscious, a 10% chance that we go into the dying state and near death, and a 10% chance that we straight up face death, that we're pretty much dead. Because when you face death, your death is almost guaranteed. Let's take a look at that. Face death. So we would roll to see if we were actually dying. On a miss, you die. On a weak hit, you die, but before you die, you make a noble sacrifice, envisioning your final moments. Alright. Or, death desires something of you in exchange for your life. Envision what it is, and swear an iron vow to complete that quest. If you fail, score a hit when you swear an iron vow or refuse the quest, you die. Otherwise, you return to the mortal world and are now cursed by that vow. You may only clear the cursed ability by completing that quest. That is awesome. That makes me really like this game. So if we die, because like the theme of this game is keeping promises. The theme of this game is oaths, vows, and honesty. So if we have not yet completed a vow, if fate desires something more from us, we will return from death on a weak hit so that we can finish our purpose in life. That is really cool. Let's go ahead, and now that we've taken a tour through some new rules that we can now begin to comprehend as we learn how to play this game, we're gonna hunt this guy. We're gonna chase him through the town. So we are going to, what did I say it was? I don't even remember. Gather information? Yeah. Okay, so when you search an area, ask questions, conduct an investigation, or follow a track. We're going to roll for our wits. If we act within a community or ask questions of a person with whom you share a bond, add 1. So if we act within a community with whom you share a bond, I think is what it's saying. On a strong hit, you discover something helpful. On a weak hit, the information complicates your quest, and on a miss, your investigation unearths a dire threat. Okay, here we go. With our wits, we'd get no +1. Okay, weak hit. We can't use our momentum to cancel anything right now. So, on a weak hit, the information complicates your quest and introduces a new danger. Okay. Envision what you discover, or ask the Oracle if unsure, and take a momentum. Alright, well we got a momentum, which is well needed. Much needed. So, we're to -1. The information complicates your quest. So our goal here was to find the guy, right? Instead of finding him, what happens instead? Introduce a new danger. Let's try rolling on... Maybe instead of the plot twist, because we're running through the settlement, right? So this says... envision what you did. Oh wait, hold on. Complicates your quest. Okay. So our quest is to find this guy, but instead, as we chase him through the village, Interesting. I'm not exactly sure what that means in this context, so I might have to re-roll. But, dangerous tradition. Okay, well, what kind of traditions would the city of Whitewood have? They're based on agriculture, and they're wild. They have a beast problem. Expansive, fertile, and wild. So, a dangerous tradition. Hmm. Okay. So perhaps I'm running through the market, right? I duck down an alleyway and I come out into like another square, like another clearing with like tents and like market stands and stuff, booths. And I run into like a parade and I get lost, like turned around. There's like a huge crowd of people and I lose the guy, right? And now I'm in the middle of this parade. And as I look around, I notice that the celebration is something to do with the like yearly harvest of whitewood. So it's harvest season, big traditional celebration going on, and I lose the guy. So without like any lead to follow, maybe someone comes up to me. All right, so let's roll for person. So oracles, we're gonna go characters. We're going to roll a character descriptor. All right, so this confident guy makes sense. He's coming up to me. He looks athletic and dangerous. He's giving us like some dangerous vibes, which is good because we're trying to fulfill that this is a dangerous tradition in some way. So he comes up to us and he says, "Hey, buddy, you just roll in from Stupid Town?" And he sees that we're lost and we don't know what's going on. So we talk to him. So let's go ahead and roll for compel. I think. Aid your ally, right? Yeah, okay. Alright, we're gonna compel this guy. And we're just gonna have a little heart to heart with him, right? So we got a weak hit. On a weak hit, the information complicates your quest or introduces a new danger. Envision what you discover. Alright, so he's like, "Hey, buddy, you look lost." And we're like, "Oh, I'm trying to find this guy. I'm trying to ask him a question. I swear he just did something to me, um, which was our loss of magic. But we don't want to say that we are tied to magic because most people are thrown off by that, and we don't want to be accused of witchcraft or anything. So like, he did something to me. I'm just trying to find him and ask him some questions." And he's like, uh, "This is the perfect place to lose someone. Right in the middle of our grand harvest ceremony, right? Like this week, it's probably the beginning of the week." He explains that this week, Whitewood goes through their harvest ceremony, their harvest parade, and it's like a week long festival. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll stick around until I can figure out where this guy went. Um, and I start to ask him like, and this is my compelling action. I ask like, and I'm probably curious enough by how dangerous this guy looks that I'm like, um, what is the harvest? What goes on? And he says, like good food. Uh, we start to bring in the first of the harvest, and and this is where the danger comes in. Maybe he mentions that there's sacrificial offerings, right? 7 days, each one, for the 7 sacrifices we give to the fields around Whitewood, where, we make these sacrifices to these ritual sacrifices to the gods of agriculture to ensure that our harvest is bountiful. and that white wood can continue to live for another year. And it also holds back the worst of the beasts from Savala Forest. And each day, the sacrifice is for a different category of agriculture, right? So we're pleasing these beast gods, maybe. We're like they sacrifice to these beast gods so that like, hey, the beasts can leave us alone and our harvest is going to be bountiful. So maybe they have like this mythology that each sacrifice, each day, is for a different crop and a different beast. So it's dangerous because they're sacrificing maybe animals, maybe people to these beasts. And in return, they're hoping that that they're going to have a bountiful harvest. Now, whether or not that's true or superstition or whatever lies really in the truths of the Ironlands. Is magic real? Is mysticism an actual power? We don't really know. So we're like, all right, this sounds like it might be worth staying. And I start to make a connection in my mind about beasts and this guy who we originally labeled as some kind of like beastmaster. Maybe he'll reappear as this festival continues. So I think maybe we're gonna stay in Whitewood a little bit longer and kind of just gather information, look at how this festival is gonna play out. So might even want to make camp, right? Like maybe I want to find a permanent residence for like a week. Maybe I find this is somewhere that I can spend my +2 wealth. So this says as you rest and recover for several hours. Oh, this is in the wild. Okay, so we're not gonna do that. Rather than make camp, we might. What is this? Draw the circle. Oh, this is like a duel. That's really cool. Forge a bond, test your bond, aid your ally. Check your gear. When you perform to see if you have a specific helpful item. Okay. Locate your objective. Your exploration of a site comes to an end. That's not this. Reveal a danger alternative. Wield a rarity. Alright, interesting. So, I believe this would just be Sojourn then. This is probably the closest thing we have. So when you spend time in a community, and I am also probably going to seek assistance while doing this. Maybe we don't roll for this at all. Maybe we're just hanging out. Because I already sojourned. It would be unfair to do it twice. So, like at least per day, right? Like I'll probably have to wait till tomorrow to sojourn again. I already attempted it today at the market. So, maybe I sit around for a day or two. Let's go ahead to page 27 of the rulebook. And maybe this little flowchart can give us an idea of what to do next. So, we're envisioning our current situation and what our character is doing, right? We're just camping out in the town. When your action or the current situation triggers a move, make that move. Well, it hasn't yet. We can ask and answer questions about the world, other characters, and what happened. What happens next? And what do we do next? We could ask around. We could learn about the world. We could learn about characters. Or we could roll an event on the oracle table. Let's go ahead and roll on settlement trouble and see what happens. Important event is threatened. That sounds perfect. So as we're just chilling out in Whitewood, we're enjoying the festival. And we buy a couple drinks. We're sitting around just like listening in on the conversations of other people around the bars, probably like outdoor bars. Um, watching the parade and stuff. And the sun begins to go down and people are gathering like the maybe the town square starts to empty and you see that the crowd sort of gathers down the road, and this is a small town, so maybe we follow, and there's some big like sconces that are lit with fire, and there's like a in the field, right? We have like a bed of like grain between these two sconces, and people start to pile around, and there's like banners and stuff hanging on like poles, and maybe my owl sits up on one of the poles and is just watching this because now it's nighttime and she would be active. And as like twilight takes over the town and all these people fill in, this goat is brought out and put onto the bed of grain. This dude is carrying, two people are carrying it on like a pole, like you would like hang it over a fire or whatever. And they set it down, they untie it, and they have it leashed to like a stake. And this guy comes out in like priest robes, and we've not seen this before, and a hood. And he comes out and stands behind the ghost or the goat, and the other two people that carry the goat out kind of stand beside him, and they're also in hooded gowns, but not as fancy. Like he is clearly a person of power. And he like throws up his arms, and maybe some guys like fuel the fire a little bit more and the fire goes up, and it looks like, oh, this dude magically just made the fire rise, and it draws everyone's attention in, and the crowd kind of quiets down, and he removes his hood, and we can see that it is the guy that we met in the woods.
All right, so unfortunately, because this is the first time I use this recording software, uh, we had a technical difficulty where the default setting was for these files, the recording to save as an MVK file, which I cannot edit and upload to YouTube without converting. So I converted it to an MP4. Long story short, I could do everything except the ending, and I'm just going to have to tell you what happened here for the last 10 or 15 minutes of the stream. Um, but I'll have this fixed for next time. So this priest removes his hood. We see that it's the guy from the woods. And next to him are these two other priests, right? The one of them bends down on one knee and presents to this guy a dagger. And the crowd kind of awes because this is Ironsworn, and in the Ironlands, iron is scarce. When people see iron, they're probably as amazed as we would be when we see something like fireworks, like maybe on a dagger. If people see a sword, they're probably very amazed. Like, people probably rarely see swords, and when they do, it's a king or someone that has killed for it. So the crowd awes at this dagger, and the guy that we saw in the woods, the priest, picks it up, and then the other guy crouching next to him pulls out like a pan, like a sifting pan for like gold, shaped kind of like that. And this is made out of something like brass or copper that's like really common, unremarkable. And our guy cuts open his palm, and blood drips down off of his hand and into the pan. And then he dips his finger. Oh, he'll wrap his hand, right? And then he dips his fingers into his hand, into the blood. Sorry, and he starts to like scrawl some like runes on the side of the goat. So you got this red blood on this white goat, and everything is like really tense. And he says like a prayer in this Nordic tongue, and the other two priests back away and they return to the stands, and he raises his arms again, and some assistants off stage, or whatever you want to call it, they put out the fire. And everything goes dark and quiet, and there's a huge gust of wind, and we're still adjusting, our eyes are still adjusting to the darkness. We see the silhouette of the goat. We see a silhouette of something fly in, pick the goat up, and it's like probably the length of like a school bus. And our character probably knows this is a wyvern, right? Like a young wyvern. Like, I don't think the dragons are necessarily a thing anymore. Like maybe that's something of the old lands, but this is like a tiny version of a dragon, right? And it doesn't have front arms. It's just got wings. So this wyvern comes in and picks up the goat, we think, because we can only see shapes, can't get any details. Another gust of wind from this thing's wings taking off. It's quiet for like 5 seconds, and then the fires are relit, and we can see there's nothing there. So the priest has disappeared, the goat is gone, and it's silent for a second, and then the crowd starts cheering and applauding, and everyone floods out, and the ritual is over, celebration's over. It seems that everyone's going to bed, and our guy is nowhere in sight. So we're going to return to our same old room in our tavern, in our inn, and we're going to call it a night. And that's going to be the end of session 1. So I'll start out the next session with a little recap of what I've written in our character's journal, and we'll figure out what to do next. So thanks to everyone that felt interested enough to watch session 1. I think that I'll be doing a session 2 here pretty soon. If you guys like it, for sure. Hopefully session 2 will have a lot less fumbling around in the rulebook, because I'm getting a hang of how to actually play the game. And I hope you're actually looking forward to it. So, thanks. See you next time.